night on the south today. Some farmers walk off their paddocks and hop into tractors, hitting the streets to protest a new government plan. Dunedin City councillors find out their new roles with mixed reaction on who's made the cut and who hasn't. And the Grand Business South Awards finalists are announced, celebrating Dunedin's Who's Who. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Hannah Wilkins. Some angry farmers have walked off their paddocks and driven to nearby towns and cities today to protest government's emissions reduction plan. Around 60 convoys throughout the country hit the urban roads to take their concerns to the public.
Square today led a parade of angry farmers through the city's main streets, protesting the government's livestock emissions plan. The world first scheme is out for consultation and will see farmers pay for agricultural emissions in some form by 2025.
Add 20% reduction plus costs to beef, lamb or deer is just enough to cripple the industry, and so we just had enough. We can't actually comply, and we're saying that we've had enough and we're not going to do it.
Hundreds turned out in Christchurch for Groundswell New Zealand's We're Not Going to Take It nationwide protest, with utes, tractors and trucks rolling down the streets. The farmer advocacy group opposes the government's emissions plan, saying food will be produced elsewhere in the world by less sustainable and less emissions-friendly producers.
We cannot comply to everything that you're asking of us. We are doing our best. We have done our best. We've improved on our efficiencies to the point where we are the best in the world.
Marshall says the emissions scheme should not be part of the food-producing industry.
The more costs at the production end of things, it always goes through and it ends up with the everyday New Zealander and anyday Kiwi end up having to pay.
The government has committed a 10% reduction in methane emissions from agriculture and landfill by 2030, going up to 24 to 47% reduction by 2050. In Christchurch, the South today.
Meanwhile, in Dunedin, Groundswell protesters blocked the city's one-way system, disrupting commuters. The protesters arriving from around the region impeding traffic along Dunedin's one-way system loop. Around 140 tractors and utes joined for the demonstration, with a few of them pinning signs to their vehicles condemning the proposed emission tax. The atmosphere was relaxed, with pedestrians waving back at the convoy. The Groundswell movement also continuing further south, with around 200 protesters crowding in Invercargill city centre. Newly elected Dunedin City councillors have been assigned their roles for the next 3 years, with certain councillors happy about their promotion and others disappointed to miss out.
New responsibilities for some and the same old job for others. Jules Raddick has gone from a seat at the back of the Dunedin City Council's table to taking his place in the big chair when he was elected the city's mayor earlier this month. Mayor Raddick announced Councillor Sophie Barker as his deputy last week, with the rest of the councillor portfolios released yesterday evening. Barker has been named chair of the Strategy and Engagement Committee alongside her second-in-charge role, with newcomer and Team Dunedin member Kevin Gilbert as her deputy. Long-term council agitator Lee Vandervis has been given the Finance and Council-Controlled Organisations chair, his last stint as chair ending 1 year into the triennium. Councillor Steve Walker's feathers were clearly ruffled after he was left out from any chair or deputy chair roles, taking to social media to voice his grievances. Bill Ackland was voted back onto council after nearly a decade away from local body politics and has been named as chair of the Civic Committee. Marie Laufiso is his deputy there and has also been made chair of Community, with new councillor Mandy Mayhem Bullock as her deputy. Councillor Jim O'Malley holding on to his Infrastructure Services chair, while Councillor Andrew Wiley takes on the Economic Development role. The councillors will officially take on their roles at next Wednesday's meeting. In Dunedin, the South today.
Dunedin shoppers can rejoice as Kmart is finally coming back to the city. The Australian retailer announcing today it's returning with a new store in Andersons Bay Road. Kmart moved out of the Meridian Mall in 2020 following concerns around seismic strengthening, with the new store setting up shop in the former Smith City site. Construction should start on the store once the Dunedin City Council gives its final approval. A Dunedin school van crashed and rolled just off Kaikarai Valley Road this morning, sparking an emergency call-out. Emergency services attended the scene of a King's High School minivan whose driver claims he swerved to avoid a dog crashing and rolling through a fence along Stone Street. The minivan coming to a rest at a bank above an Aurora substation around 11:15. A St John spokesperson says one person was taken to hospital with minor injuries. The Otago Business Awards finalists were announced in Dunedin last night as part of the city's annual celebration of commerce. Business South sprang up from a recent merger, with yesterday's events being one of the organisation's first chances to shine.
To the victors go the spoils. Members of the Otago business community celebrating success at last night's Glitzy Awards ceremony. Business South Chief Executive Mike Collins says the annual function recognises 44 finalists who are all at the top of their respective fields. The nominees come from all parts of the business spectrum, from small business and sole traders to large organisations. Collins doesn't envy the judges' role of picking the winners.
Yeah, the caliber's been amazing, so that it's been really difficult for the judging panel. They've really asked a lot of questions about the businesses. The businesses have put a lot of time into the questions we put out there, and that's a really important part of the process.
This year the event is sponsored by Dunedin's Grand Casino, with CEO Dom Dowding proud to be part of events because of the wide range of businesses in the southern region.
The reason why we supported it is being part of the community. We heard all these great stories and ideas about the businesses that existed in Otago and Southland, and we wanted to be part of telling that story.
Dowding says it's incredibly important to celebrate businesses, especially in the current economic climate. The winners will be announced at a black tie event at the Dunedin Town Hall next month. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Whaiakene still to come on the South today. Free breakfast, coffee and kōrero in the Octagon get cyclists up and at it. And a book that's been passed down through the generations is making its way back to an Otago school.
Every day the team at Gillian supports grieving families at their time of need, from answering your questions to organising a farewell that reflects the wishes of your loved one. We can help. Call Gillian's today.
Labour Weekend Sale on now. My mate John's taken 25 to 75% off everything. There's over 5,000 items at half price.
And my mate John.
Tēnā koe, welcome back. Free breakfast and a complimentary coffee drew cycle commuters from across Dunedin to the Octagon this morning. The 10th annual bike breakfast gave city cyclists a chance to park up to enjoy a coffee and a chat before rolling on to work.
Croissants, cereal, and for the first time a coffee cart. Hot drinks proving particularly popular with the hardy Dunedin cycling crowd. The annual bike breakfast event marking its 10th year today in the Octagon, organised by cycling advocacy group Spokes Dunedin alongside the City Council. Organisers keen to encourage cyclists to commit to a pedal-powered commute, saying the benefits of increased cycling are many.
It's really just to say, hey, well done, and we would love you to, spread the message that commuting by bike is a really good way to keep you healthy and to do something for the environment at the same time.
With a growing network of bike paths and trails connecting up across the suburbs, a lot of progress has been made towards creating a cycle-friendly city.
Look a little bit like Amsterdam. Dunedin, the Amsterdam of New Zealand. That would be great.
Many city cyclists like to start early to beat the rush, with most of the lycra-clad crowd off to change into their office gear by 9 a.m. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A book awarded to an Otago girls' high school student back in the 1800s has been returned to give a bit of the school's history back.
Teachers admiring the intricate details of the 139-year-old book. Christine Binney was awarded the tome in 1883 for a certificate of merit in Latin and has been passed down through her family. Binney's great-granddaughter Margaret Cassie inherited the book Those Holy Lands, which tells the story of a journey through Palestine. She says it's been sitting with old Bibles and poetry books, so donating it to the school was the right thing to do.
I think that something like this needs to be not just hidden away. I think it's an important part of the story of the school.
Librarian Monique Patterson says the book is an absolute treasure and is looking through the school's archives to find out more. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. About 60 convoys hit New Zealand roads as some farmers protest a possible new emissions reduction plan. Dunedin City Councillors were given their chairing roles this week, with Steve Walker left out of the mix. And 44 finalists were announced at this year's Grand Business South Awards last night in Dunedin. And now a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT, and we welcome the Associate Editor, Jo Simpson. Hello, Jo.
Hello.
What can we expect in your paper tomorrow?
The municipal chambers are in danger of collapsing in an earthquake, so we've got a report on that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Groundswell came to town, or at least some of them did, and aged care residential care providers fear people who escalate to high-level dementia will end up drugged up in hospital beds rather than receiving proper care.
Golly. All right, we look forward to your Friday paper. Thanks, Jo.
Thank you.
And time now for a look at the weather.
The South Today weather, proudly brought to you by MoleMap, the skin cancer detection specialists.
Looking at the situation, cold southwesterly airflow eases over the region tomorrow as a large high-pressure system arrives from the Tasman Sea, and expect northerlies at the tail end of the weekend as it gets warmer. Heading to the top of the South Island, fine with easterlies up in Nelson tomorrow with 16 degrees, 15 over in Greymouth with southeasterlies, and Christchurch looks clear but cool up to 12. Travelling through South Canterbury and North Otago now, 12-degree highs all around with southwesterlies picking up for a while in Ashburton, Timaru and Iwamaru tomorrow. Westwards now to the Central Lakes, fine with light winds on Friday and 15s across the board for you in Whanaka, Queenstown and Alexandra. Heading further south, well, a break from the wet weather tomorrow as the southwesterlies drop back and open up to a fine day. By numbers, 13 in Balclutha and Gore with 11 down in the Catlins. Now right down to the deep south, well, showers clearing tonight in Invercargill down to 5 degrees. Fine and sunny through the day with the winds dropping back before a frost. The high 11. And Saturday comes with blue skies and light winds to kickstart the long weekend in fine style, up to 16 as the high. And lastly, heading to Dunedin. Showers tonight and a low of 6 overnight. Early morning showers will clear with a sunny afternoon and cold winds on and off, up to 11 degrees before a cool night. And Labour weekend looks warm, clear and calm. Saturday's high will be 15 degrees. And that's the news this Thursday. For the latest news and videos from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. But coming up after the break is this week's edition of Global Insight, where Professor Robert Patman says New Zealand needs to find its voice to avoid the impression it can be bullied. We'll see you again tomorrow. Ka kite popo.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.